So, welcome. I'm going to make some assumptions that most of you are either already using Veeam or want to use Veeam.
Why don't you ask them?
We'll get there. We're going to do a little survey in a minute. If you're expecting really high-level training, this is probably not it. It's going to be more of a 50,000-foot overview, and then we're going to talk about questions and problems that you're having. And Mark or I, hopefully, one will answer it, or Tom, or some other Veeam user. So I'm Justin Moore. I'm a systems engineer / help desk / do whatever Jason Powell says at Granger Community Church in Granger, Indiana. I've been there a little over 6 years now. Oh. This guy over here.
Yeah, I'm Mark Burleson. I'm the ambassador of technology for LifeChurch.tv. I oversee all communications and training and various other aspects. Previously, I was systems and network admin for LifeChurch. I've been on staff almost 7 years.
So this is my lovely wife in Chicago a few months ago, and everybody else seemed to be introducing their wife and pets on their slides. So these are things that are important to me outside of the IT world. And the one on the left is, she's special. She's only 8 months old, so if I look tired, I am. She's very challenging. And Mark has some things he cares about, too.
That's my lovely wife and my kiddo. He's 4 months, and I just celebrate 4 years of marriage yesterday. So it's exciting times. And then the next slide over here. Wait.
4 years, man. She's a saint.
Hey, we've been together like 13. So she kept with me when I... well, you know, I need to make sure she could handle me. And this is my puppy dog. That's Sadie. So she's about 1.5 years old, and she's a toddler, and she doesn't like us anymore since we brought home a kid. So,
all right. So, who has Veeam? Very nice. The people who don't have Veeam, what brings you into this room? You want to have Veeam? Good. You're in the right place. Same thing. All right. Good. Yeah, so you have been enlightened already. That must mean that you use something now that you don't like?
Well, we
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. And you? Cool. So there's no one in here that uses another virtual backup product at the moment then? Unitrends, PhD Virtual, vRanger. Good. We can trash talk those as much as we want. I like it.
I use them.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Some of these slides are going to be a little salesy because I got them from a Veeam sales guy and ripped out as much of it as I could, but tried to keep the framework so that we would have something to talk about. So if it gets too salesy, I apologize, and you can throw things at me, and I'll let Mark talk. So these are traditional problems with the backup tools that we all hate, because I can almost guarantee you that if we were to survey the room, if you were using Symantec or Veritas or some of these other legacy backup tools, you never liked them, right? They were always just a necessary evil. I tend to find that most Veeam customers don't feel that way about their backup tool because it just works and it's simple. And you don't have to install anything extra to make it work. And it's just one of the reasons that I love it. I think that agents are stupid in 2014 especially. So I'm going to skip through some of these for sure because this is stuff that's been around for a while, and you guys are mostly familiar with it. So Veeam, at its core, is backup and replication. There are other tools from Veeam as a company. You guys use any of the other fancy stuff anymore?
We had Veeam 1 installed. I'm not sure if it gets used at this point.
Yeah.
We have Orion, so Orion gets used more than that.
Gotcha. So one backup tool can take your backups locally, replicate them. Now they have the Veeam Cloud Edition as well, which, does anybody use that? They actually have that. It's a little more expensive than the traditional. You got some of your customers? That's cool. Are they sending it to where? Cool. Yeah, it's so. Yep. So the Cloud Edition supports, I think, now over 20 different cloud providers. Glacier, S3, Azure, OpenStack, Rackspace, Google Cloud Storage, and then a bunch of others that I've never heard of, but those are the big ones. And so at its core, Cloud Edition can do the backups local as well as ship them off to a cloud service. And I think that it's an annual license model versus a larger upfront cost, and so you can kind of ease into it rather than a larger upfront spend. And it sounds like Tom can tell you all those prices if you want to know, or yeah, you should probably have that ready afterwards. Anything? And Tom can tell you some of this stuff better than I can as well, but different editions and ways to buy it. Since there's only 2 of you, I won't spend a whole lot of time talking about that either. But you can buy it in a kit for up to 3 hosts, I think, or 6 sockets. If you only have 1 socket per host, I guess you could split that differently. And you can also buy it as a suite, which includes some of the other tools, like Veeam 1, which is fantastic. Salesy stuff. So last year they introduced Veeam 7. This presentation was supposed to be about version 8, and they haven't released it yet, which kind of upset me. Traditionally, every year they release it in early October, and I'm able to come here and talk about what's new and what's awesome, and they did not. So I'm a little upset. And I emailed the sales guy last week. He's like, look, you got any slides? Because I'm going to talk to some people next week. And he's like, no, that was not helpful.
I'd rather it be stable than unsecured.
Well, yeah, but I would have still liked to.
I like my backups to work.
I would have liked to have had something a little more exciting to talk about, or at least show it off. I've got some bullets coming up about it, but this is stuff they introduced last year. That and backup copy jobs is probably the thing that I use the most and love. A little history, that's really hard to read, but from their initial release in 2008 up until today, they have just continued to add tons and tons of stuff to make the product better, and they continue to kind of push the other virtual backup providers, in my opinion, to do stuff. So everybody follows the 3-2-1 rule for backup, right? Does everybody know the 3-2-1 rule for backups? No? Does anybody know it? 3 copies, 2 locations.
1 resume.
This is important. If you're responsible for backups, this rule is super important. 3 copies, 2 locations, and one of them needs to be off-site. And if you can't figure out a way to get it off-site, at least like as far apart on your campus or buildings as you can get it. I think it was in Veeam 7.5, they actually added much better support for rotating media, USB hard drives, flash drives.
Some tape.
Yeah, tape support is in there as well, and so it's much easier to get these backups off-site if you only have a 10 or 15 meg connection. There are ways to do that now, and so it's all built right in. Backup copy jobs is what they introduced last year that I recently re-architected our entire backup at Granger to leverage. So I take 2 backups of the entire virtual infrastructure. I have 2 sites. Take 1 backup at each site, and then from that 1 backup copy jobs looks at those existing backups and pulls existing backups from the original backups, and then I can set different retention policies on that. And so I'm only doing that once a night, and then I'm retaining different times based off the copy interval. Correct. Sort of 1 backup job of the whole entire cluster, and I think I've got screenshots of this in a moment, or we'll just dive into the environment and look at it. But I take one backup job of the entire cluster at one location. That goes to local storage, and then I have a backup copy job that's constantly monitoring that. And when new increments are detected within that job, it does other backups based off of that. It doesn't actually go back to the virtual infrastructure and pull a new backup. It looks at the existing backup and copies that to a different site. Most of my stuff is only happening nightly. I'm doing one window at night, doing the whole infrastructure, and then I have a couple of servers that I do it with a little more frequency, but nope, I don't do any replication. It's all backups. That's just me and my environment. Yeah. Yep. That's what we do. So I have the 2 locations. They're connected by gigabit fiber. Please don't hate me. They're about 8 miles apart. And so I actually have pretty good flexibility in that. And I've got good storage at both ends. So I can launch a VM from either side. And so the backup copy happens locally at our colo facility onto local disk. And then the backup copy actually stores it at the other location. It's just a decision that we made because I don't need instant recovery for the applications that we're running. It's just not that critical. And the recovery time objective isn't minutes, it's hours, it's fine. And so I can power up a VM from backup, and then I can vMotion it, storage vMotion it to anywhere I want to from that point on.
I did replicas on mine. We have a site about 9 miles to the west, and we did replicas of mission critical. The idea being, if a tornado hits us, don't have to worry about where my backups are. I mean, we have backups as well, but I can just, our site's going to go away if we get hit by a tornado in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that would happen. So that's how I'm doing it. Every situation is different, and that's why I like coming here, and everybody can talk, and we can figure out, what makes the most sense for your environment. And
as a comment, replicas are not backups.
Yeah, replicas aren't backups. That's true. A replica is a one point in time, and then the next time you replicate, you've overwritten it. You don't have any historical purpose. And so as we get into some of the version 8 stuff in a second, there's some pretty fun stuff as far as replication that they're doing. They have WAN replication built in, so if you have 2 sites and they aren't connected by gigabit fiber, you can still do a lot of this stuff over a 10, 20, 30 meg connection, depending on your rate of change. They claim up to 50 times acceleration depending on the apps and the rate of change. So it's caching at both ends. It's deduping before the data goes across the wire. And so it's possible, but you may have to pick and choose what you actually want to replicate. They did introduce tape support last year, which people thought I was crazy because I was excited about it, and they thought tape is dead.
I begged them for years for tape support.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Hard drives are great and large capacity now, but you can't retain 2 to 3 years worth of retention on spinning disk. And I mean, you're paying for power and cooling, and drives fail frequently. And tape just makes it a lot more affordable. They support LTO3 and up, single tape drives, auto loaders. The only catch right now, and I'm hoping they'll fix this in version 8, is that the tape drive has to be directly attached to your primary Veeam server. Yeah, that's kind of a, I wish they would just make the tape loader another repository and you could shove whatever data you want into it. I'm hoping that that's coming in version 8, but they haven't said a whole lot about specific technical features like that yet. So anything else about tape? It just shows up on your Veeam server as another repository, and you can choose where to store it. One-click restore. It seems a little salesy for them to call it one-click because it takes more than that. It's like it's only one click to click the restore button, but there's a few steps involved in choosing what file you're going to restore. So it seems a little sketchy to me. I don't know.
Sales guys, marketing, you know.
Yeah, I don't like those guys. They lie. I learned that yesterday in one of my sessions.
They lie. Marketing guys, sales guys.
Was that a 10 talk?
Was that Tom? Oh,
Oh, right. Keith in the Wi-Fi thing talked about.
well, they're Wi-Fi guys.
No, he said marketing guys lie. That's what he said.
Did say that.
Yeah, he said he had a marketing guy tell them that was their job, was to lie. Special.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we should. Version 7, they introduced around that same time Veeam Explorer for SharePoint, Veeam Explorer for Microsoft Exchange, 2010 and now 2013. And they've also added Veeam Explorer for Active Directory later. So you have like item level recovery of any of these things. You can restore a single SharePoint object, a single contact from Exchange.
Who has on-prem Exchange? Have you guys used Veeam Explorer for Exchange? You should. It's amazing. That was the killer seller point. I had beta test on that one, and it was ridiculously awesome. You go down into a mailbox and restore a single contact or a single email.
Yeah, it was one of the things that we gave up years ago when we switched from Commvault to Veeam, was that granularity. Veeam always had a way to do it, but it involved booting the Exchange environment and then going into a mailbox and restoring an item to a PST, and then pulling it out of the recovery environment, and then trying to put it back into the live Exchange environment. And so a year and a half ago when they introduced these tools, I think we should demo that in a minute, because it's pretty slick.
It would take too long to open up my Exchange
Oh,
environment.
it won't take that long for mine. This is a little screenshot of the Enterprise Manager, which is just a little web app that runs on top of your Veeam server. And you can go in there and see all your jobs. It can collect job data and send you a daily email. That's how I know my backups are happening. If you don't have this installed and configured, I think it's the best way to monitor. So I get a summary email every day of all the jobs that have run and whether they were successful or not. And then if there's a problem, then I can go in and check things out.
We mentioned Veeam 1 earlier, and one of the cool things about Veeam 1 is you can hook it into your VMware environment, and it can give you a graph of the disk writes and that, so you can see if Veeam is affecting disk. It can see if there's something else that's affecting Veeam speeds. We actually found some problems with our iSCSI connections with VMware because of Veeam 1, and we were having some very long backup periods. So Veeam 1's another one you can actually see a bunch of granular data related to your backup jobs.
And I think they even have a free version of one that doesn't have all the features of.
Yeah, they do have a free version. I don't know exactly what it offers.
So even if you aren't licensed for the full Veeam suite, you can still get a free version of one and install it to monitor your environment. I think the built-in monitors and alerts in one are way better than the stuff that comes baked into vCenter. So the Enterprise Backup Manager is a separate layer. Yeah, the idea is that it's one place. So if you may have repositories and agents, not agents, repositories and
no agents.
proxies, Veeam proxies scattered all around, and the Enterprise Manager can collect all that in one web view and can send you job alerts based on all that.
Everybody know what a proxy is with Veeam? Anybody not know what it is?
How many of you have a single Veeam server? Just one.
So proxy for you guys is the idea of, like, I have two sites. He has two sites, so I can put a Veeam proxy, which for our case is a virtual machine, but it helps do a lot of the data transfer back and forth and running backup jobs or replicas to help streamline transference of data.
Do anybody have multiple sites that they're working with and then only have the one proxy or one repository? Yeah. So if you do anything at all with more than one location, even if you're in different parts of your building or different IDFs, adding proxies is a really smart thing to do, because the proxies talk to one another and make decisions at the time of backup to know what disk is going to be fastest, what network connection or path to the data may be fastest, and it makes these decisions on the fly. It's just magic. That's really the only answer I have. They have some... Oh, really? Oh, that sounds like a DNS problem.
Was this the room we had the DNS problems in? No.
No, it was next
It was
door
that room.
over there. Yeah, that was where we learned that. I think most of us learned
Not
that for the
to
first time.
derail here, but we did SharePoint 2003 training here in 2007, a bunch of us, and Bill English always told us that DNS is always the problem.
It doesn't matter what the problem is, the answer is always DNS or something like that. So that does sound like there's some topology problem between the two, maybe different subnets, and it thinks that it needs to go out to the default gateway or something. I'd be interested to see that and know why. Yeah. That may be where he got it from. So Enterprise Manager is cool. If you don't have it, you can install it right on your existing Veeam server, and the email reports, I think, are fantastic. It is a separate download. Yep. It's also a great centralized place to manage licensing. So if you have multiple Veeam servers, you can dump your license file into there, and it'll take care of managing licensing for all of your Veeam servers. Another great tool that it gives you is a self-service recovery. This might be a good idea. It might not be a good idea depending on your environment. Does anyone have that one person who at least once a month overwrote some file and you have to restore last night's backup for them?
That was me.
That's you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you have different ways to do it.
I have self-service recovery.
But you can actually go in and set up self-service recovery within the Enterprise Manager web portal, and you can give it to your finance guy, and when he overwrites that budget spreadsheet, he can just log in there. You've given him rights to that backup job, and he can pull the file he needs out of that. It's really pretty slick, and it's gotten much easier in the last year or so to set that up. It used to be a lot of work, and now you can it's pretty simple. Yeah, and it's all group, and it honors ACLs that exist within the backup already. So we talked a little bit about Veeam Explorer. Sure. Right. It's all set up in the Veeam Enterprise console, but it obeys AD credentials and permissions. So you could give someone access to the backup job, and if you configure the permissions within that appropriately, they won't be able to restore files that they don't have access to. Explorer for blank, because they have it now for SharePoint Exchange and Active Directory. We touched on that a little bit. And it really is just a great way to browse some of these applications within your backup infrastructure.
And just so you guys know, Veeam is SQL aware, so you can tell it, and with Exchange as well, as how to manage logs based on the status of the backup job.
Yep. A physical disk failed so it's a physical domain controller? That sounds scary. I haven't had to restore a DC, thankfully. You're gonna somehow have to do an authoritative restore, is my guess.
It would definitely depend on how long the failure was before the restoration.
Yeah, because if you're restoring an AD backup and you have another DC.
But it's still part of the same, yeah. That gets a little hairy.
Yeah, so now
Call Daryl Hunter.
you've got contention. Yeah. So your catalogs and such are out of sync. That's not good. I would probably, in that case, if it's not the only DC, there's not much to save. In my opinion, I would delete it, force it out of AD, and then just deploy it.
If they hold the roles, that's a different conversation. But yeah.
Yeah,
but
seize the
if
roles.
you've got multiple domain controllers.
Everyone has multiple domain controllers, right? If you have one, you should have more than one. Yeah.
That's the one down.
Sure.
Yeah. Veeam doesn't.
Yeah. Right. I keep physicals around at every site that I have virtual infrastructure for that reason. I want to be able to just turn on that box if there's nothing else. If the power's all been out, you turn on that box first. You've got DNS, you've got DHCP, and you've got your AD services. Sure. It could be another virtual. You're correct.
It's all of our, yeah, we have one physical at this time, but all of our locations are virtual.
Sure.
Yeah. So So be aware, Veeam does not do physical server backups at this time.
At this time. Teaser. So I'm going to fly through a couple of these screenshots, and then I think they may be better served to, we can hop in my live environment and poke around and answer questions. Most of the rest of this time is I'm going to hit some of the V8 stuff that is being talked about, and then we'll just take this time, and if you've got questions, problems, we'll turn it into a roundtable discussion. That was kind of the goal. So this is setting up a copy job. So there's existing backups that you've already set up. You can set up a copy job. You can do it direct, where it'll talk to another proxy, or you can send it to the same backup repository that already exists. And again, this doesn't touch your production environment. This is happening on existing backups that are already on disk. If you have WAN accelerators installed, go back one more. If you've actually got licensed for WAN acceleration, which I think is only in Enterprise or Enterprise Plus, I don't think WAN acceleration is in the basic version. I could probably go back to that slide and tell you. Tom will probably find it faster. But the WAN accelerator is just a tool that you install it at the time of when you're configuring proxies. And then they'll just show up here, and you can choose them, which one's the local, which one's the target, and it takes care of the rest. At what link speed? It's dependent on your rate of change. I mean, if you've got a exchange environment or highly transactional stuff like SQL or media files that are changing a lot, you're not going to do it over a 10 or 15 meg link. But I've talked with other people here that have 20, 30, 40 meg connections to a remote side over a cable modem, and with a small rate of change, even without WAN acceleration, they're doing a couple of VMs. So, yeah, with or without the acceleration. Cool. Right. So you can do that. You can seed it on an external drive, carry it over, dump it to the repository, and then just do incrementals from there. Yeah, it's the same thing. You can do a local, set up the copy job, let it do the copy to a local target, and then you take the files, take them over, and then there's a way to remap the backup to a different repository, and it'll scan through and index all the... Right. A little screenshot of Explorer for SharePoint. It's restoring an item, so they're going to just restore an item to the SharePoint site. It's that easy. You just put in the SharePoint URL. Anybody using SharePoint? I'm going to stop talking about it then. That's great. This is the Veeam 1 console. It's a Windows app. I have this running on my monitoring screen next to my workstation, and I can see when things are good. This is actually the Veeam backup piece of Veeam 1. So you can see this success or failure for the backup jobs. Or as you, I don't have a mouse on the screen, do I? That's great. You can see the actual virtual infrastructure as well. We're in the data protection view. And no one cares about vCloud in here. So version 8, and then I can stop saying that I'm hinting around all the things that are coming in version 8. Have you done any V8 stuff? Have you seen it yet? You're not paying attention?
I actually haven't seen it yet.
So they're introducing a new backup mode, which a lot of people have been asking for, forward incremental forever backup. And it's pretty slick. It's going to save a lot of disk space and reduce the time to create the full file. I've got a screenshot of it in a second. backup I/O controls, so some of the auto intelligence stuff that they're doing for choosing proxies. They're also going to look and let you do more than one concurrent task from a piece of storage up to parameters that you set. So you can say if latency gets above a certain amount of milliseconds, then let's throttle that back. We don't want to impact the production storage while we're taking the backup. Okay, Enterprise Plus, cha-ching. Does anybody have Enterprise Plus and not using those fancy features? If you are, you can step down in Veeam licensing anytime. They make you sign a letter of destruction or something that you know you're forfeiting those rights, but it's totally doable. If you don't want those features anymore, you can bring down your annual costs. Just a public service announcement. So forward incremental forever looks like this. So the initial backup was taken on Sunday. In this case, maybe it's like a terabyte, you know, a bunch of VMs in one file. We've got a terabyte here. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the next Sunday, these may only be like, 4 gigs each. What was required before was that on the next Sunday, when it does a full, it's going to need to write a brand new 1 terabyte file and then purge the oldest. And it'll take the data from the very top of the oldest that's specific to last Sunday and store that in a VIB file. Well, what they're doing now is they're going to take they're basically gonna, instead of taking it off the top, they're going to take it off the bottom. They're going to never rewrite that full file again. And so they're going to write only the delta for this Sunday, and they're going to go back to the last one and figure out what is specific to that, pull that out into a VIB, and then roll Mondays back into the largest one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're gonna pull out what was unique from the original Sunday backup and put that into a VIB, smaller file, and then they're gonna take the VIB from Monday and push that back into the same space that would have been in the Sunday file. So that one large file is all you'll ever have, and then you're gonna have the much smaller incrementals. They never rewrite the whole thing, correct. It's forever incremental. Yeah, it's a lot like that.
So it's not like a synthetic fallback.
Right. Right. And it's much less I/O intensive. To do something similar to this before, it would have taken, I'd have to go to the blog post and read about it, but I think it was 2 writes and 2 reads or something, and now this is like 1 each or something to move it all around. It's much faster and will use a lot less space. Because the other problem is that if you need to write a new full, you've got to have all that free space to write the full, and then it deletes the other one, and so you're always going to have a lot of extra overhead. And I've got I'm taking 1 backup of my entire virtual infrastructure, 35, 40 VMs. That file is 2 terabytes. And so I've always got to have at least whatever I need for retention plus 2 terabytes so that it can write out that new full before it deletes the old. And I need more space. What?
I said 2 terabytes. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's not a lot, I know, for you. So yeah. That's that. This is some of the I/O control stuff. And you can just see that you can configure the latency, the range that you're okay with accepting. And it'll take the intelligence into that then and make good decisions, hopefully, Ben. Maybe it won't be as smart as they say. Has anybody ever had Veeam mess up a snapshot while it's doing a backup? If you've used Veeam for more than a few months, you probably have seen it at some point. I'm sure you've... do you want to tell any stories? Or?
Well, I'll tell it after you talk about it, and I'll tell you where to help.
So apparently the top support issue across all of their customers has to do with orphan snapshots. And so in version 8, they're introducing something they're calling Snapshot Hunter. And it's an automated process that's going to go through your actual live data stores in vSphere or Hyper-V and look for snapshots that Veeam triggered and that may have been abandoned and not fully deleted. And then it can send you alerts, or if you're brave, you might could have it automate flattening those out and getting rid of them. So it's a pretty good thing for them to do.
A number of years ago, they had an issue where a backup, it was an orphan snapshot, and it was on my file server, and it just continued to grow, and then filled up the LUN on my SAN, and I had no more space on my SAN to give it anymore. We were already at 2 full terabytes. So we were completely locked out of our file server. So we ended up having VMware support as well as Veeam support. Have to try and Daryl Hunter support.
At least they play nice together. You know, those guys are friends.
And I've had that happen more than one time. So watching, especially on my mission critical like Exchange and stuff, watching snapshots is a full-time job at points. So having Snapshot Hunter is going to be fantastic.
Some of the last things that are coming in V8 that they're talking about, full end-to-end encryption. So as it's taking data from the live data store, they're going to encrypt it over the wire. This is probably going to require vSphere 5.5, is my guess, to be able to pull that encrypted off the data store through the wire, or maybe a virtual Veeam proxy in your environment, and that's how it'll do that. So during the backup, it's already encrypted. While it's making its way to its resting place, it's going to be encrypted, and then the files actually on disk are encrypted. So if you want to do rotating media, USB hard drives, plug those in, take them off-site. If someone steals it, it's not a big deal. They can't restore those files. They're encrypted. And I don't have any technical information to show about it, but the way they're doing encryption is really smart. It's not super difficult. I think it's somehow tied to license key. I should have looked this up. Maybe I will in a minute. But it's not the end of the world if you lose your encryption key. There's some way for you to recover that from your original console, I think. So they're going to do replication from existing backups. So rather than replicate from your live environment to another environment, you'll be able to do a backup copy, but replication into an existing environment on the other side. Yeah, so you can actually just do a backup and then to whatever you want and then replicate it. And so you'll be able to reduce the amount of jobs that you need to be able to accomplish that kind of thing. And one-click failover plans I think is pretty cool, especially in my case where, like I said, I don't have a crazy short recovery time objective. So I'll be able to create a plan that says, well, if this ever goes bad, I want to be able to boot AD and then Exchange and then SharePoint or whatever on this cluster over here. And you create the plan, and you go into Veeam, execute the plan, and it'll pull those files out of backup and do it all at one shot for you. And there'll even be a scheduling method for that, so that like if you're trying to move between clusters or data centers, you can actually schedule all this ahead of time as a failover plan. Say, do this on Friday night at midnight, and you'll wake up the next morning and all your stuff will be moved for you. Handy for if you don't have like storage vMotion and you're trying to move a bunch of VMs around. Great way to do it. Yes, it can. So, yep. So it's basically taking just the basics of quick migration and putting schedules and plans around it. So you can, instead of just doing it right there, right then, you can tell it when to do it. And you can group virtual machines together. It's a lot more granular what they're going to do. So lots of Veeam users in here, some that are looking for to become Veeam customers. If I know Darren, you over here said you still have a physical DC. Anybody else still got physical servers that they're? How are you backing up your physical servers still? Symantec.
Aperture.
Aperture.
No, we're Semantic.
Yep. So this is something that they announced a few weeks ago at their VeeamON conference out in Vegas. They're actually releasing a free tool to back up physical computers.
They're not saying it's server, though. It says laptop and workstation.
No, they say server 2008 and later
Yeah,
is supported.
if you look at their online marketing, like on the website, it says laptop and workstation,
Right.
but it does say server.
So
inside.
It will back up servers. Server 2000, Server Vista, or later. Yeah. What was that? What's that? It's a great question. So there's a couple of different ways. It's going to look and feel a whole lot like the actual enterprise backup and replication product. They will have file level restoration. They will have full system recovery, bare metal based on a little USB stick. The console is going to let you build a little USB stick, throw that into the laptop, boot it, and you can then browse your backup file and restore it. So, and it's free, even if you're not a Veeam customer. So if you've got a Windows 7 computer at home and you want to back up your wife's laptop, you can set that up to back up to a USB drive or a network share at home. I mean, so all my remaining physical server holdouts, I will be putting this on as soon as it hits V1. So it'll be able to back up to local disk, a network share, or a Veeam repository. So if you've already got an existing Veeam deployment, you can take your physical DC, install the endpoint backup product on it, and push those backups into your existing Veeam repository. And then I suspect that there's going to be integration with version 8 where you'll be able to take those backups and do other things with them like replication or backup copy jobs. So they've been pretty tight-lipped on how much they're going to support it on the server side, like Mark's saying. So I suspect that's because they have been pretty tight-lipped on a lot of version 8 stuff so far. Yeah, I think that's all. Rick Vanover, one of the marketing SEs at Veeam, is tweeting this morning that he's doing internal webinars on version 8 now. So I'm guessing within a week or two. They cut it a little too close for my taste. Yeah. So if you're interested in buying Veeam, sounds like you should probably talk to Tom before you leave the room, or pricing will go up at the end of the year. So that's all the slides. We can hop into an environment and poke around if anybody has questions. Mark, you got?
Veeam does do deduplication. Did we mention that?
Yeah.
'Cause that's fantastic.
Definitely. So if you've got lots of similar servers, which all of your servers are probably running similar OSs at the very least, huge savings in storage. I should probably, no, I don't want that. One moment while I switch gears here. Say something entertaining, Mark.
Say something entertaining. Say something entertaining. Oh. Anybody got any questions? Any thoughts? I've been using Veeam since '09, I think.
We were early customers.
Yep.
So Veeam is a 10% discount for churches. Public sector, yeah. They've been pretty good to work. I mean, worked with them years, had a lot of tickets, and they've been really good in response there. I know it's always a question of how's their response on support. Are they knowledgeable? And they've been really good.
So The worst thing that I heard you say was free ESXi. So that's a limitation that all backup providers are fighting with VMware. They don't have access to, right, they don't have access to the good backup APIs to do things. Yeah. So you can get vSphere Essentials for what, under $500 for 3 hosts? And then add support. It's like $12 or something outrageously cheap. It's, yeah. So some kind of licensing for vSphere if that's the route you want to go. Or pretty much, they have pretty much feature parity between Hyper-V and vSphere also. So it's something to think about too. Right. Right. Yeah. So are you interested in maintaining what you have as far as some Hyper-V and some vSpheres? Is there a reason for that, or? Okay. Something like a tool like Veeam really could be helpful in consolidating because it can actually do migration because you can take a backup from VMware and I think I'm right about that. I should look. Right. VMDK to VHD.
My friend had Hyper-V once. He had to go to the doctor and get some medicine for it. Cleared it right up.
That's how I feel too, but I was trying not to be too mean. I'm unabashedly a VMware fan and a Veeam fan, so I try to be as nice as I can in these crowds. Right. And it's one of those things where we bought into VMware really early. Right.
Veeam's always a good fit.
Yep.
I mean, he's gone on Bender on us. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
There they are.
Yeah.
I mean, not everything we use at Life Church is Veeam, obviously. So I mean, there's definitely options there. But it is a Veeam session.
Yeah.
You gotta- you
I
gotta
made sure to put
keep
it in the
calm.
title so there wouldn't be any confusion about what we were going to talk about. Right. Yeah, I think in your case, before I would make a purchase, I would really try to figure out what your long range goal is. So this time next year, where do you hope to be? Yeah. 2 years ago, it would have been, this room would have probably been 99% vSphere customers. And I bet if we were to do a survey now, it's closer to 50-50. And if not in this room, then the group as a whole. Hyper-V sure has picked up a lot of steam. I'm not in a hurry to throw away my VMware investment yet. So, yeah, right. We bought VMware, let's see, 5 years ago probably. We bought VMware. It was right before version 5.0 came out and they introduced the Essentials kits. And, oh yeah, right, because we initially were thinking about rolling out 3.5. So it was right around 4.0. And there was an acceleration kit then, which wasn't the Essentials kit. And it wasn't really much to talk about at the time, and it was a couple of $1,000s. But to go and buy what they've upgraded that license to be now, it's basically 6 sockets of vSphere Standard, which has vMotion and storage vMotion, and a lot of awesome features. And it cost me a few $100s a year to, yeah, we just continuously grandfathered into different programs. And so I can't throw that away yet. I can't talk myself into throwing it away. Nice. Where do you work again? I think I got a resume with me. Yeah. Yeah, that's a different room for just. Right. Sure. They changed the licensing with 2012 R2. It's what one standard license is only worth two virtual instances. Data centers unlimited. So no, and if if you're okay checking the box on TechSoup, then it's even more ridiculously cheap for data center licensing. Yeah, the licensing is free. You just got to pay $18 per license transaction fee or whatever. Charity for 2012 R2 now is something like $1,800. Yeah, I think list is like $1,895, which is 2 sockets. Yeah, it's somewhere in that ballpark is what you should expect to pay. My renewal is like $700. What? You should talk to Tom. Tom, you can look that up if you want and share it. I don't care, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it's under 1,000. I know that for a fact. My Veeam renewal is more like $2,500 a year, which is outrageous. But I still have Enterprise Plus because I wasn't sure what kind of features they were going to add last year, and I had to renew. So. Yeah. VMware discounts basic support a lot. Right. So I didn't plan for an hour and a half of slides and me or Mark talking. Maybe he did plan on talking a lot, but
I didn't plan on talking.
I really wanted to just chat with everybody. So we've got plenty of time. If you've got more questions, we can keep going.
And I haven't had my coffee yet, so. That's nice.
Not per socket, per license, which is 2. Yeah, so 288 for 2 sockets. We actually, we use some of our TechSoup licensing to buy SQL Server. I should go find out what that was. That was fun.
You cannot be discriminatory.
Other than as allowed by law.
Except for allowed by law.
Oh, that's not right.
Truth.
Yeah. Where are you from again, Bob? Pennsylvania. Yeah. Yeah. I love, this is my favorite page on TechSoup. So we've spent let's see, $64,000 is what we've gotten from TechSoup. And we have spent, see if I can find this. Which one of these? This is my sequel. Oh, it's not in there. Yeah. We had just bought some SQL Standard licensing, and we were actually, by a miracle of God, we were able to return those. And CCB actually made it happen. They were great. They knew that we weren't going to rebuy from them, and they still went back to their supplier, whoever they were running them through, and was able to get the deal returned, and the licenses got yanked out of VLSC, and then we went to TechSoup and bought, and yeah, there are a lot of good people here, for sure. I was hoping I could find my actual receipt from that. That is outrageous. I'm getting off topic though, so I should go back to Veeam.
We've been off topic. It's okay.
Yeah. You should talk to your network administrator. Do you love those boxes that pop up? It's like access denied. Please contact your administrator.
The worst ones are when you actually go to like a tech article on Microsoft and it says contact your administrator. And like, Microsoft, this is your product. You are the technical advisor here.
No, I'm not. So I'm guessing you're referring to specifically what I said about DNS maybe being your Veeam problem. I would call Veeam and ask to talk to level 2. Don't bother talking to level 1 tech support at Veeam. Just ask them to escalate
I just
it.
told how great support was, and then you undermined me.
They are great at level 2. I don't think so.
They'll usually look at logs.
I think level 1 will give you some articles, some KBs to read, and say, try this, try this, try this. And then you should just say, I tried that. Can you escalate this? And they will.
To lie?
No. I mean, like, he should read the articles, and if they don't work, then... Yeah, it's not far.
They're in Dublin, specifically. If you go there, eat some Skyline chili for me.
Oh, here we go again.
It's good stuff. Darren knows. Don't tell me you're a Gold Star person, though.
What's that?
Skyline chili. You're Skyline or Gold Star?
I'm a Gold Star guy, actually. Only because when I first moved to Cincinnati,
I would expect that from
Outs.
a Hyper-V shop.
Out.
when I first moved to Cincinnati back in '88, we lived like 3 houses down from a Gold Star, so that was my first experience. So I definitely for it. I couldn't really say
That would even be worse. Empress okay. Blue Ash chili's okay.
Anybody have any other backup
Yeah, we're going back up.
questions or virtualization?
Because I'm really hungry right now.
Still got about
Sorry,
20
guys.
minutes until lunch.
I feel like I'm like no energy today. I'm sad.
I'm sorry.
I am. Y'all know me. I will talk, but today, not today. But, I mean, Justin has done an amazing job of... it told me to keep calm, and I guess I'm just so relaxed. You
A
know,
little
it's
too
like
calm.
Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am Veeam. I mean, God. It's not storming outside, right?
It is now.